Hello, Amy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Just wanted to let you know, Nancy probably mentioned it already, but as soon as Danny pops in, please do not make him a co-host. He's going to be the recorder for the Spanish challenge.
Yeah, he's got permission.
Perfect.
And I believe he's recording. Thank you. Thanks. Nice to see you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for arriving a little bit early. We'll get started momentarily. Settle in. Grab your beverage of choice and get ready for a 2-hour meeting.
Buenas tardes a todos.
Buenas tardes, vamos a empezar en unos minutos. Gracias por llegar temprano. Si quieren pueden ir a buscar alguna bebida de su preferencia y vamos a empezar en unos cuantos minutos. Gracias.
Good evening, everyone. So good to see each of you today. Welcome to our 59th South Fresno Community Steering Committee meeting. I'll give us a couple of more moments here as folks begin to trickle on before we get started for the evening.
Muy buenas noches, bienvenidos a nuestra reunión número 59. Nada más vamos a dar espacio para que otras personas continúen ingresando antes de iniciar la reunión.
Hola, buenas tardes. Estamos aquí, Roberta y Efraín Meneses. Gracias.
Hola, Efraín Meneses.
Hola, Roberta. Bienvenida.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Estela.
Good evening, Estella, and good evening, everyone. It looks like a good number of us are here, so Thank you everyone for hopping on and early and on time and being here when you can get here, and for joining us this evening. And welcome again to our 59th South Fresno Community Steering Committee meeting. And happy fall. We're so very grateful to be in this space together. So my name is Bikela Ikoba, and I'm joined here tonight by my two colleagues and co-facilitators, Liz and Amy from the Harder and Company facilitation team. And our team will be working behind the scenes tonight just to take attendance, offer technical assistance and general support, just to ensure that everyone is able to engage fully as much as possible in tonight's meeting. If at any point you're having any trouble with Zoom or the translation, or if you have any questions about anything else, please feel free to message one of us, put it in the chat, and we would be happy to help. So before we open it up for some introduction and welcome, I would love to take a few moments just to walk us through our typical housekeeping slides that you may be familiar with by now, some of you. So, if you haven't already, you can find the interpretation button included at the bottom of the Zoom panel, at the bottom of your screen with the globe icon. We have English and Spanish language options available this evening, and we would request that you opt into one of these two options using this interpretation feature, selecting English or Spanish depending on your preferences. With that, we also want to encourage you to use the chat to indicate any questions that come up for you during this process. On the next slide, you'll see that for any of you joining us via Zoom or on your phone or tablet, this slide indicates how you can do that right here. You can use the three little dots typically found at the bottom of your screen in your Zoom controls. From there, you can click the language interpretation from the menu and then choose English or Spanish. We do request that for everyone, whether joining on phone or on or tablet or computer, to make sure that mute original audio is not selected so you can hear people who are calling in through their phones. And we would love to request that everyone please, especially for folks on their phone or tablet, to state your name before you speak so the interpreter can identify who is speaking. And I'll try to remind folks throughout the meeting as well. At this time, I'd love to pause and invite our wonderful translation team to share the instructions as well in Spanish.
Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Nada más nos estaban dando un poquito del resumen y de las instrucciones en inglés sobre la reunión, entonces ahora yo les voy a dar las instrucciones en español. Si ustedes ingresaron con una computadora, en la parte de abajo de su pantalla del menú de Zoom van a ver el icono de un mundo o de un globo. Por favor, selecciónenlo y seleccione el canal de español y les invitamos a seleccionar silenciar audio original para que solo escuchen al intérprete y no escuchen dos voces a la vez. Si ustedes ingresaron con una tableta o un teléfono móvil, van a tocar su pantalla y van a buscar los tres puntitos del menú que diga más o more. Busquen donde diga interpretación de idioma, selecciónenlo, seleccionen el canal de español. Y por último, el botón que diga done, listo o finalizado, y también pueden silenciar el audio original como para solo escuchar una voz a la vez, como les dije anteriormente. Y si necesitan alguna ayuda para poderse conectar o no escuchan, por favor nos dejan saber para que podamos ayudarles. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And so on this next slide, we would love to, before we get started, again, remind folks to make sure that your mute feature is on if you're not speaking at the moment, and that your screen name reflects this naming convention. So if you're a CSC member or a resident, we would love you to indicate that using a letter at the beginning of your name. So if you're a CSC member, we would love to request that you put a CSC in front of your name. If you're a resident and a CSC member, we would love to request that you put an R in front of your full name. This is especially helpful for our facilitation team as we track attendance, especially for those participating in the stipend program. And for all other, thank you so much, Liz. And so for all other participants, we invite you to please use the naming convention listed on this slide with your first and last name, followed by your organization and agency. Or agency. Okay, before We continue to move on for the evening. We do have a few reminders for this virtual setting and space that we're sharing together. We would love to encourage you to make sure that your mic is again on mute if you are not speaking or not about to speak. And then if you're calling in by phone, you will need to press *6. As a reminder for our residents participating in the stipend program, just a reminder that you need to stay on for at least 75% of the meeting to be eligible for that stipend. And so with that, or about 90 minutes. And so with that, we would love to go over some of our group agreements to ensure that we have a productive, wonderful call tonight. And so first, would just love to remind each of us in this space to let's help each other achieve the meeting goals by focusing on solutions, opportunities, and trying to maintain a productive dialogue for our South Fresno community. And AB 617 work here. We're a large group, so we want to make sure everyone has a chance to participate. So if you're someone who maybe tends to talk a little bit more during meetings, we encourage you just to experience intentionality or to engage in intentionality with making space for others. And if you're someone who maybe tends to stay a little bit on the quieter side during these meetings, we welcome you and encourage you to take up more space verbally or orally and share your ideas with the group, whether aloud or in the chat as well. We encourage you to be civil and respectful. It's okay to disagree, and we can know that this can be done in a beautiful and respectful manner. And as always, we do have a little bit of a packed agenda. So we would love to encourage us all to stay on point, which can be hard for me, and on time by keeping our comments brief and to the point, just to allow others to speak in alignment with what we just shared. Whenever there's disagreement, remember to address the problem and not the person. And please honor each other's humanity and dignity, and remember that we're humans before any other roles or positions that we hold. And then lastly, let's try our best to seek common ground and find opportunities to identify solutions. So on this next slide, you'll see our agenda for the evening. We've started off with welcome and introductions. Welcome. I introduced myself as Bikela, and we'll transition to talking about action item, tracker follow-up, the annual report update, followed by the SERP incentive measure discussion, standing updates, and then following, closing our meeting with some next steps, agenda setting, and final public comment. Okay, that's a lot. But we're so glad thank you for bearing with me and for bearing with us. And we just so thank each of you for taking time out of your night to share with us tonight. So at this time, I'd love to transition us to our next item here. And I'm happy to invite our community co-host Kimberly to share some opening remarks with the CSC. Kimberly, would you like to share?
Good evening, CSC, Fresno CSC. Thank you for allowing me to be your co-host. I can't remember how many times. I'm probably in the double digits by now, but to be your co-host again. And I'm looking forward to us having a really good, rich conversation on the items that are on the agenda. And again, thank you for allowing me to be your co-host.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. We're really grateful you agreed to be our co-host this evening. At this time, I'd love to invite Ryan from the Air District to provide any other opening remarks for us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bikela. Great to be here tonight. Thank you so much to Kimberly for meeting with us before the meeting and having a discussion about the topics and providing us input. That's always greatly appreciated, and I think it helps a lot. Getting that perspective, and yeah, definitely looking forward to hearing from all of you tonight on the topics on the agenda.
Great, thanks, Ryan. So with that, let us transition to talking action items. As a continuation of our conversations from the last meeting, we'll launch this meeting with an update on progress towards implementing your requests by reviewing our action item tracker. Part of our work together is to increase transparency and accountability, which is why we continue to dedicate this time to reviewing the action item tracker with the committee. And so we do appreciate that the AIR District's efforts to continually update the tracker to ensure voices are heard and that we're able to monitor progress towards implementing suggestions. And so as a reminder, at the end of each meeting, we'll share action items that emerge during this night's meeting or the night's meeting and encourage any members to add any items that should have been tracked. So as Nancy provides updates, please feel free to ask for clarification, and our team will take a note of any follow-up questions that are asked. And if they can't be answered tonight, we plan to return to your questions at a future meeting. Nancy.
Thank you so much, Michaela. This is Nancy. Tonight I will be sharing the action items, so I will go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see that? Perfect. All right, so yeah, we routinely check in, with our action items just to be transparent and just to be held accountable, just to make sure that we are doing what we are supposed to be doing. And so with that being said, I'm going to jump in. So we do have 2 in progress action items from the last meeting. This one is 58.1. So the Air District will share an updated heavy duty truck replacement project plan with the CSC, as well as FAQ before the next CSC meeting. And so today we are going to continue the discussion about the heavy duty truck replacement along with other measures. And so we will be providing further details and answering questions. And we will continue to conduct outreach and work with the CSC and CARB to move forward with implementing this measure. And so moving forward, this is from the previous CSC meeting as well. So the Air District will reach out to schools in West Fresno, such as King, Lincoln, etc., to conduct outreach for wildfire readiness. And so the district continues to reach out to schools on the west side of the boundary to conduct outreach. District staff also connected with the CSC member who mentioned she had contacts for schools on the west side. And so we do have 1 completed action item from last CSC meeting. And so this one is the Air District will send the CSC the draft annual report by early next week for the CSC to review and provide feedback at today's meeting. And so there was an email sent out on October 5th that had a link with the annual reports, and I will be more than happy to drop that link in the comment section in a little bit. And so we are going to be requesting any feedback, perhaps any ideas that you may have, or if you want more information in a certain section, or maybe we didn't include something that you did not see. And so we will be taking feedback until November 3rd. And so there were only 3 action items. And so with that being said, we are more than happy to take any questions right now. Other than that, if not, then I will pass it back to Michaela.
Thank you so much, Nancy. We really appreciate it. Before we move on to the next item, are there any questions that are coming up for folks? I'll take a few moments to pause here just in case, or feel free to add to the chat before we move on to the annual report update. Okay. So with that, annual report update for the evening. Y'all, can you believe it's been a whole year since our last annual update? It's incredible. It's so wild. And so it is that time of the year again. And while this is the 3rd year that the AD has brought the annual report to the South Fresno CSC, we also recognize that our newer CSC members may be a little bit less familiar with what the annual report is and why we talk about it each year. So as Kimberly and the Air District will both explain in a moment, the Air District team has been drafting the annual report to represent all of the work that has been accomplished in Fresno and to reflect on areas of growth. And so at this time, we would now like to invite Kimberly, our community co-host, to start us off with some context and some framing for this agenda item.
Yes, as it was stated before, this is our third year for our CSC members who are familiar with this process. And welcome to our new CSC members into this process. I'm very excited to get into it, but we are aware that maybe some CSC members hasn't been able to review the full annual report. So therefore, the Air District will be open to scheduling additional meetings dedicated to going through the annual report in detail with CSC members. So just keep that in mind as we go through this, that if you haven't reviewed it and would like to go deeper, take a deeper dive into the annual report, that the Air District is willing to schedule some meetings to take a deeper dive after everyone has the chance to review it. But other than that, I'm ready to get into it, and I'll pass it to Ryan.
Thanks, Kimberly. This is a great opportunity, and I'm really appreciative of Nancy wanting to step in and kind of go over it. And so I'll turn it over to her, but thanks, Kim.
Thank you, everybody. And so I did go ahead and drop down the annual report, the English version and the Spanish version. And so if you want to take a look at that right now, you may do so, or you can just always wait and review it when you have more time. And so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. And then so I just want to remind everybody that we are looking for feedback, and so you can go ahead and give us a call, ask to speak to somebody from the AB 617 program, or you can always give us an email. We're just looking for feedback just to see where we can improve, what we can add, and whatnot. And so I kind of just wanted to start us off here in this page, just to show you, walk you through of where you can find the annual report. You can also find it in the email that have been sent to the Fresno CSC, but you can also access it here on our website. So if you go to the South Central Fresno Community homepage and you scroll down, you're gonna hit this tab right here where it says Reports and Document Archive. And it's going to take you straight directly to all the annual reports that we have had in the past, the quarterly enforcement reports, and we also do have just the annual enforcement report sections listed by year. And so for today, we are going to be going over the 2023 Draft SERP Annual Report, and this is going to be presented in English, but there's also a Spanish version. And so with that being said, I know that, every year we are required to put together an annual report of the progress being made. And it's not just to present to CARB, but also to just reflect on all the progress that we've made and just to see what has worked for us, what hasn't worked for us, and how we can improve and move forward for next year. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start with this presentation. Let me just make it a little bigger. There we go. All right. And so and I kind of just want everybody to keep in mind that we're not going to go page by page. I'm just going to be giving summaries. I do encourage everyone to just kind of read at your own pace when you get a chance. And then, like I said, give us any feedback that you may have. And so the first few sections of the annual report, this is just more of a executive summary. It just describes valley-wide progress across all 4 communities with what's going on. And some of the fun sections that I like. So some of the highlighted sections here are from the Community Steering Committee engagement. We try and be very inclusive and just provide a balanced public CSC meetings by providing monthly virtual Zoom meetings, resident stipend programs and continued real-time interpretation services. So we just try and keep in mind and just how we can just keep that engagement going on with everybody. And then so just moving forward, so some of the highlighted events that occurred that we wanted to include in this annual report was the recruiting and onboarding of new resident members. And so we always just want to make sure that we provide the majority, so we want to ensure that the majority of voices on the committee are community residents. And so during this recruitment process, we actually had 8 new residents who applied for CSE membership. And so moving forward, another highlight of the year was the Fresno June in-person CSE meeting. And so this was held at the Malaga Community Center. And this was the first in-person meeting since the pandemic. And so I thought it was a very great, excellent opportunity to just get to meet all the residents and just have that engagement. And so there were engagement exercises. And so a lot of the residents got to move and communicate, talk to various organizations that day. And we also had some very delicious food, actually, that was catered by a local business. Shout out to Cultura Kitchen. They provided some yummy food. And then, so just moving forward, this annual report does talk about SERP measures in the South Central Fresno. And these are just some of the ones that are highlighted by the community. So again, I'm just going to be moving through this annual report. So, please read at your own when you get a chance, and no pressure. We have until November. And so some of the other sections that are included are the incentive measures and, some of the project plans that have been approved by CARB so far. And then so we also highlighted one of our other programs, that's the Clean Air Rooms program. So we have been doing a lot of outreach just to get a lot of people to sign up to receive free air purifiers. And so we do still have some available. So if you know anybody that resides within the boundary, send them our way. We can help them apply for this. It's really excellent. And then so some of the other measures just include the district awarded 2 $1 million contracts to Tree Fresno for the vegetative barriers and urban greening measure in spring 2023. And so just moving forward, we do a lot of, oh, I see a hand. Eric, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm going to wait for you to get through the presentation and then I'll ask my question if that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. I will continue. And so we have a team that goes and does a lot of outreach, a lot of events. So we do attend like different schools, festivals, food distribution, and where we go educate the public about, things such as like the impacts that bad air quality has on health. And so we also, just moving forward, we also do have a section for compliance and enforcement measures. There's a lot of great information here and it's broken down. And so just moving forward, just again, I want to just reiterate that we're not going to be going through every section. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to discuss whatever concerns you have. Another highlighted section was the land use measure. So we did have the City of Fresno at a previous CSC meeting, and they came and just did a little talk, and then they provided their information. So you can sign up for land use email notifications. And then We do have information about community air monitoring implementation, the various locations in the South Central Fresno, and you can actually see real-time information about the air quality by visiting our website. And then just moving forward, so we have 2 appendices, and then so this one should be familiar to many of you. This is our SERP tracker, and then so I know a lot of residents do receive this information, and so it just gives all the measures and a status update that we have. And then so the last section is going to be our 2023 enforcement report. This has updates to enforcement plan, to the enforcement plans. And so some of the sections include a list of permitted facilities. And then so it also includes facility inspections. And it also includes a summary of complaints. And last but not least, it includes a summary of violations found. And so there is, like I said, there's a lot of information. So, I encourage everybody to just, take a look at it and then just give us any feedback that you have. And like I said, you can email us, you can call us, and we're more than happy to discuss any topics or concerns that you may have. And so, that concludes the presentation. And then so we are happy to take any questions.
I see Eric has his hand up.
Yes, Eric Payne, CSC resident. I did notice in the report, kind of like, I know last year, there was significant conversation around a couple of different things. One of those being having the air district hire a chief sustainability and environmental justice officer, or kind of like a chief diversity officer type of role. And I didn't see any organizational update reflected in the final report. Did you want to speak to that, or is there somebody that can speak to that?
Yeah, Eric, I'll answer that one. And I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, I was the one at the meeting, and I shared at that time that was one of the specific roles that I had been given and assigned to, serving in that role for the district, similar to other agencies. I definitely work with people in those capacities at those other air districts that you're talking about in regards to those topics.
Yeah, I am not really clear in kind of like in terms of how the executive officer serves in that capacity relative to organizational metrics when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion through a number of measures, internally and externally, specifically looking at DEI metrics in the organization, or looking at procurement. How is the agency meeting the procurement measures relative to ensuring that there is equity embedded in your procurement processes, and how the air district does business there, and specifically centering an agency like yours, an environmental justice plan, and what that environmental justice plan looks like relative to embedding it into other internal documents like your strategic plan.
Yeah, those are great questions, Eric. And I'm sure you're familiar with this already, but the district was one of the first to develop and actually work with environmental justice organizations to create the district's environmental justice strategy. When part of that was creating an environmental justice advisory group, and working with and sharing information that the district's doing to take that feedback and incorporate it into the things that we're doing, the programs we run. I see, several CSC members were actually, or their organizations were involved in that process as well. And, happy to share that strategy out.
Right. And I think I'm looking at something less of a strategy and more of a plan, and how the plan is embedded into the strategic plan of the organization and how you reach those goals, other than more of a advisory group that can highlight maybe some of the immediate systemic issues that I think that they're experiencing, like in certain neighborhoods, but not all neighborhoods, and how that's being measured. Right.
Yeah.
So it can't be managed if it can't be measured, right? That's something that we all hear. But I think the greater accountability in this conversation that I want to center is that relative to your peers in other parts of the state, these roles exist for a reason, right? Like you can look to the Strategic Growth Council to help develop an organizational position that can help advise and shift internal culture and external culture, front facing to community. But it doesn't sound like the organizational will is there. And I think having this body in place to help push and pull where needed, I think is advantageous for the organization if we as residents are to feel seen and heard in these processes. And what I think I'm trying to communicate is we don't feel seen and heard in this process. And so how can we do something different to get a different outcome, right?
Yeah, Eric, we are always open to any suggestions and feedback, and would love to, set some time aside to, have those discussions with you more, and would be happy to share the things that we do to address those things.
Yeah, and I think and I thank you for the opportunity and kind of welcoming the conversation, but I think I'm at a place where we have discussed this for over a year, and we haven't seen the type of outcome that we've desired. And so I think, relative to lip service in these conversations, I think we're all would desire to see a more actionable outcome. And actionable outcomes to me look like the hiring of a chief diversity officer, measuring our environmental justice impacts in our community. I hope that helps.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric, for sharing this really important question with our group. I'm wondering if this could be a conversation topic, given the examples that you've given in this, in your question, that we can continue to come back to. And I know we've taken notes throughout the conversation, and would love to follow up on this and continue this conversation. Yeah. I'm wondering, are there other questions from our CSC members that are coming up for us this evening? Pausing for more questions, or just pause for a few more questions, and I'm not seeing anyone with hands raised or any new questions in the chat. That said, I know that Nancy just shared a lot of content with us in a short period of time. So thank you again, Eric, for your question. That's really important. And thank you, Nancy, for taking the time to go through all of this content in like 30 seconds flat, basically. And so, yeah, with that, would love to continue on with the agenda for this evening, but would definitely love to name that the conversation around the annual report definitely does not need to be closed. And so if and as questions continue to come back, please feel free to utilize the chat through the rest of the meeting today, and recognize that emails are continually a resource that are available as well.
Can
So
we also highlight that there will be, that the air district is willing to hold meetings for our CSC members who have not been able to go through the annual report yet, as well as they will be accepting feedback up until November, was it November 3rd? Yes, up until November 3rd. So no pressure, really, if you're not able to provide any type of feedback right now. Just know that those options are on the table once you review the annual report in full.
amazing. Thank you, Kimberly, for these really critical reminders. All right. Well, with that, would love to transition to Liz to continue us through the evening.
Yeah, thank you. This is Liz. Happy to keep us moving through tonight's agenda. So we will now transition to our continued SERP incentive measure discussion. So tonight, this will be a follow-up on conversations that have been happening at past CSE meetings. So the Air District will present several updates around a few of your SERP incentive measures that have been making some recent progress, and where the Air District would like to facilitate some feedback from the CSE. So as the Air District presents, I believe they will start with the passenger vehicle repair program and the passenger vehicle replace program. Those will be the two main updates, and then we will hear some updates regarding the heavy duty truck replacement program. And then we may hear some updates around the air purifier programs. There's a lot going on, a lot of really great stuff happening, and really excited to invite the Air District to share these updates. We will be pausing throughout the presentation after each measure's updates to hear questions and feedback from the CSE. And so at this point, I'm happy to pass it to the Air District. I'm not sure if it's Ryan who will be presenting tonight.
It's me. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay, I've never tried sharing a presentation while being only having one screen, so bear with me while I try to do this correctly. Can everybody see that? Are you getting are you just seeing the presentation itself, or do you see other things?
Just the presentation.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. All right, so yeah, hopefully these are all really positive and exciting updates that we're bringing. Really want to thank Jose with Valley Can, who's here, to also provide information. They've been a partner on the implementation of the Drive Clean and the San Joaquin repair and replace programs. It's been a great partnership, and they've been doing great work at helping people repair and replace their vehicles. And so we took to our board last month some enhancements to the program based on the feedback from the Community Steering Committee to increase incentive amounts for the replacement of the purchase of new vehicles, understanding the high costs of those vehicles. And so he's gonna, I'll turn it over to him periodically to talk about the different parts of it. But just as kind of a reminder for everybody, a while back we submitted, we're required to submit incentive project plans to CARB, who have to approve them before we can move forward. And then the next step is then to take it to our governing board for approval. So like I said, we did that. the funding for vehicle emissions related to repairs for high polluting vehicles operating in the Fresno community. The recommendation from the steering committee was to provide $1 million towards that. And then for passenger vehicle replace measure, it was to provide funding up to $1.6 million for that. And so what we want to discuss with you, and we kind of teed it up at the last meeting, was, how do we outreach this program to let the community residents in the South Central Fresno community know about this. And we're also going to talk about a few options in how to run the different programs. So a couple of the questions, and I'll read the question and then I'll turn it over to Jose. But for the passenger vehicle repair, interested participants can directly apply to the program to receive the incentive funding. And then Valley Can also holds in-person tune-in, tune-up events. And so during the last meeting we talked about, is the CSC interested in having those events or relying more on the direct events? And so I'll turn it over to Jose to talk about both of those options a little bit more. Jose, are you still there?
I see him. I'm not sure if he's having. Oh, yes, can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can't see me, but if you can hear me, that's totally fine. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here and talk about the two programs that we administer for the Valley Area District and the possibilities that are available for the AB 617 implementation in South Central Fresno. So two.
Oh, we can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, I think we might have lost Jose Marin. Oh, I see him.
Yeah,
Okay.
there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for a minute.
Okay, so the Tune In Tune Up in-person event is very grassroots outreach driven. Our events are held at the Big Fresno Fairgrounds on Kings Canyon, and drivers are encouraged to participate, bringing their vehicle. They get a tailpipe exhaust probe diagnosis on their vehicle to measure the emissions. If the vehicle is above the state established standards, we issue them a voucher that can be redeemable at multiple STAR certified repair shops within the area. And that's kind of in a nutshell what the in-person tune-in tune-up event is.
I think maybe Jose's internet is not working so great tonight. I think he just cut out of the meeting again.
Okay, yeah, and this is Carrie with the Area District, and I also work on the program. Looks like Jose's back. I'm gonna kick it back over to him, but I'm happy to pick up if he drops off again.
Okay, so maybe no video. Maybe I'll just try the audio part. So the tune-in tune-up free emissions testing to the vehicles that come. Usually these events are held at the Fresno Fairgrounds. For this area, I'm not sure if the fairgrounds are within the boundaries of the AB 617, but I know they are in South Fresno. So it creates a lot of excitement for this community. Our capacity is 525 vehicles, always reach that capacity in the city of Fresno. So a lot of community involvement when our events are held in person. The other component that Ryan was referring to is our virtual campaigns. And these are driven by our online and local media outlets that direct listeners or viewers to our 800 number. The way that dynamic works is drivers will call our 800 number. They are booked with an appointment that we sent directly to our repair shops, our participating repair shops. The driver then goes through with their appointment, gets their vehicle tested for emissions again. If the vehicle fails, then they automatically are assigned a electronic voucher to that shop, and that shop does the repairs needed for the vehicle to be able to pass their emissions and be according to what the state requires on smog law. Happy to answer any calls. We do have an event coming up at the end of the year. I believe it's December 9th in Fresno. If any of you have not taken part in our in-person events, you're welcome to take part in them. I'm happy to share the information on the chat and happy to take questions. I apologize for my bad connection. I heard the entire meeting, and right when it's my time, then it fails. So I apologize for that and happy to take questions. Ryan, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that sounds great, Jose. So what we're looking for is feedback on the two options and whether the steering committee believes that, you know, that we should be holding both, one or the other, you know, or definitely options. And, you know, if there is a desire to, you know, hold in-person events, maybe, you know, historically, Jose, I know you've done a few locations within the AB 617 boundaries, but, you know, if you can kind of share some of the places that you've looked to in the past and held them there, you know, we could also talk about maybe some other places that may also work and would be good for the community if they're interested in in-person events. So looking for feedback from the CSC on that.
Yeah, thank you, Brian and Jose. So it sounds like the Air District is wondering if the CSC has any thoughts on having these in-person events for the vehicle tune in and tune up. Yeah, I see a hand from Ivanka. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jose. Ryan, Jose, I just needed a little clarification. The programs have been approved, correct? And has Valley Can already been assigned to these programs, or are you asking the committee, yes, they're already assigned and now we just need the details of how we want it implemented?
Yes, correct, Ivanka. You know, we work with Valley Can, who have experience doing this in the Valley.
Generally speaking, this is an Air District already incentive that you've done, and now we're just attaching this CERT measure to the program that's already been standing, correct?
Well, the difference is this is going to be exclusively for the South Central Fresno, and then, you know, we'll also talk about the changes to the repair program that are different than the existing program.
Yeah. So these events would be held completely separate than the regular Air District tune-up, tune-in programming, right?
Correct. These are for the South Central Fresno community.
Okay. The one thing I would say about the virtual piece is serving the folks in the 617 area virtual, whether it was COVID, signing up for COVID shots, vaccinations, testing, we've seen that that's very hard. So what we do know is that in person within the boundary, I think would work the way we've seen it work at the fairgrounds for the main program that the Air District does. So I would just be very concerned about, while you can, not to say you can't offer it online, but it would have to be really intentional to be accessible if you're going to do the calling in. Calling in can work, but if you're just relying on complete registration online, we might lose or create a barrier.
Yeah, great points. Thank you.
So then, Ivanka, then your recommendation would be to look to do in-person events. Are there specific places where you think that, or certain areas that Valley Can should be looking at to hold these?
I'll have to think about that, but is the is the fairground within the boundary? I'm trying to see what's in my head, what side of Cedar that's in. Are the fairgrounds within the boundary? They are, right?
Yes, they
'Cause
are.
they're
Yes.
on the east side of Cedar. I think people already know about that, so you might want to like use what the majority of folks have known already for a few years, right? I'm not saying you can't do it virtually. I'm just saying that if you're going to offer it, it cannot be the only way that it's offered. You would still need to do in person. And if you're doing it online, you really would want it to be more connected to that phone number where there's an actual human on the other end to help people sign up, and not just relying on a barcode to apply.
Yeah, again, really important. Thank you for sharing, and we're taking notes. I see another hand from Bill.
Just for clarification, so is this program available only on certain dates, or like if somebody in the community had a problem when it wasn't on the date, is there a place where they can go to get the benefit of this program for if they needed a car repair to improve the ability for it to run better? Or is it just on these certain dates? I'm just trying to clarify how it's set up.
I can answer if you'd like, Brian, and my system allows me. So the program is an ongoing program, sir. Our funding is allocated per county. So we do our local outreach as kind of an online event, if you will. So it's targeted, say, from October 1st, and I'm just putting this as a scenario, from October 1st to October 10th to the community of Fresno County. So we focus the outreach to that community. After October the 10th, say October the 11th, then we go to Kern County per se, and we focus the outreach in that area. But it's an ongoing program year round, if I'm answering your question.
Yeah, so Bill, to your question, so there would be in-person events, but the direct method that Jose was talking about, that would be the one where, say I'm working that day, I can't get there, I can't get to that event, then I would still have the potential of calling up the 1-800 number, speaking to someone, getting, identifying the STAR service center that's closest to them, and then they could take their vehicle down there, get it tested, and then they could get the vehicle repair voucher to get those repairs.
So basically, it's an all-year, it's available all year.
Yeah, with the approval of this, it opens it up to providing that option to the AB 617 and people using it that way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, great question, Bill. Any other comments or questions from the CSC, suggestions for maybe where you would like to see one of these in-person events? We heard the fairgrounds, that's within the boundary, would be a good option. Any other thoughts? Not seeing any. But again, this isn't the last opportunity to share. So we'll have more discussion on this. And if we don't have any more hands on this topic, I will pass it back to Ryan to continue walking us through.
Thanks. So the next option is, or the next thing I'm going to talk about is the passenger vehicle replace program. And so one of the questions that we posed during the last meeting was for the passenger vehicle replace, Valley Can holds outreach events at local restaurants to assist interested participants. Where and when should they look to hold these events within the AB 617? So, I'd like to, at this point, turn it over to Jose to talk about the events. First, you see some pictures there. He could talk about how they run those programs, what they're looking to do in the South Central AB 617 community. There is the added incentive where you can get up to $20,000 to replace electric vehicle with the purchase of a new vehicle, which is a lot of money. And then the exciting news, there's been some kind of recent changes to the federal rebates, which was just announced earlier this week. And so we're really trying to understand how that may provide an added benefit to the South Central Fresno AB 617 residents. And so happy to turn it over to Jose to talk and walk us through these events, and then take all of your feedback on maybe places where they can do them, times they should be looking at, and so on and so forth. So, Jose.
Thank you, Ryan. Again, I apologize for my system not cooperating, but our events for these workshops, we call them vehicle replacement workshops, and are held usually during the week, and we schedule them from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We do a lot of local outreach within the different community-based organizations, the local schools. You mentioned earlier some of the schools that we also reach out to whenever we come to this area, and some of the agencies within the area that we're going to be targeting. And we encourage drivers to call in advance. And when we provide information to our partners, we say it's important for interested parties to give us a call in advance so that we can prepare them. And when we do come for the workshop, the participant comes prepared with the questions that they're inquiring about, or that they have about replacing their vehicle, or a big percentage of the people that show up after we've taken their call and we've prepped them before, they show up ready to apply with the documentation that is needed to get into the pipeline of transactions. So again, these are held typically at different pizza parlors. We have done some taquerias in the area. I think we did the gymnasium of King School there in South Central at one point. And again, the city of Fresno is a big territory, so we get a lot of folks turn out at these popular events. We anticipate that once we begin these workshops again, we will see an increase of participation because like you mentioned earlier, the increase of incentive through the Valley Air District and the increment of the rebates, the federal rebates. So we're looking forward to an exciting season of replacing old high-emitting vehicles. Happy to answer questions on these as well, and absolutely happy to take in consideration any recommended venues that you feel would be able to accommodate the few dozen people on a weekday evening. And again, if we need to accommodate the times, or if there's a particular day that you feel would work best, all of these are up in the air. We want to make it work for you, members of the CSC, and we want to make it successful.
Thanks, Jose. And so thank you for the overview of how they've run in the past. And so I definitely want community member feedback on maybe some areas they should focus in, if there's specific restaurants or other places that may work for something like this, that they can reach out to about hosting event. We'd like that feedback now.
Yeah, thank you, Jose and Ryan. I see a hand up from Bill.
I was just wondering if it would be helpful at all if people couldn't get to those presentations when they're offered, if there could be like a YouTube or something thing that they could access and get all the information and so forth at their own leisure, if anything like that would be practical or not.
Yeah, so ways to maybe create resources or record the event so that folks who aren't able to attend can still get that information.
That's kind of what I was leading to.
Would you like me to speak to that? I can certainly. So our Facebook platform is very heavily engaged with the local communities. And, we have a dedicated person answering questions and keeping the conversation going with people who are interested. Our website also has very detailed information, and we link that to the Valley Air District's website as well. So we can certainly do more focus driven to those avenues, like you say, for folks that are unable to attend the day of when we come to do the workshops, the vehicle replacement workshops.
Yeah, thank you for adding that, Jose. I'll just pause to see if there are any more questions or comments, suggestions from the CSC. Sounds like we might be looking for suggestions for locations, maybe some restaurants within the South Fresno AB 617 boundary, maybe that are really good community hubs where folks can gather to have these workshops together. Anything coming to mind? And feel free to put suggestions in the chat too if you don't want to raise your hand.
I think Cowell Park would be a great place to have one of these events. They have a really big parking lot. They have a taco stand that's open where people can get food. They have a playground for kids to play. So I think Cowell Park would be a great place, and I believe it's within the boundary. So that's one of my suggestions.
Yeah, thank you, Kimberly. And did I hear Kawa Park?
I'm sorry, can someone type that in the chat? I didn't capture what the lady recommended.
Yeah, so I did say Cowell Park.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
And then another place too, that's like in West Fresno, to be able to reach residents there. I would say Hidden Center. They have a really nice parking lot, a play structure for kids as well, to hold an event there as well.
Thank you, Kimberly. Could you write that one in the chat as well? And we'll pause to see if, again, any other suggestions that are coming up for the CSE before we continue. Not seeing any hands. So I think we can pass it back to Ryan to keep moving us through.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jose, for being here tonight and taking the feedback, and look forward to getting those things started, and hopefully starting to see some electric plug-in vehicles, or more of them, in the community. The next thing that we wanted to discuss with the CSC is just provide an update on the clean air rooms. And so kind of going back, 4 or 5 months ago, when we started doing advertising about this program in conjunction with a Valley Air or Valley-wide program that we were also running, we saw a great kickoff to that. And we saw a lot of participation. And then over the last few months, we start seeing kind of a dip in the level of interest in this. And so Jamie Holt, who's the Chief Communications Officer with the district, and her team have been doing a great job at going to school events and sharing the information about the program, trying to get more interest from community members to participate in it. We understand there are challenges, when you're running something like this. A lot of the feedback we get when we're at the events is, we'll sign up when we get home, and we understand life happens after that, and so sometimes it's challenging for people to remember to go in and sign up for something like this. And I think in some cases there may be some apprehension, kind of disbelief that it's really free, or there's some strings attached to things like that. And so the kind of the community network, we found to work really great to reassure members of the community that this is a real program, and that the units are free, that they are shipped to your home, and you get replacement filters. And so we want to talk about that a little bit more on. We're looking to do some more outreach in the community to hopefully spend the remaining $800,000, especially with the hope that we can start getting more of these out before we experience any more impacts from wildfire smoke like we were just within the last month or so. And so it's really important and beneficial to get those out. So just at this point, we'd like to stop and take some feedback on any ideas that the CSC members may have. We'd also talked about opportunities for mini grants, people to get out in the communities and share information about the program. We've even given out equipment for people to help sign people up right there on the spot. That's also an option. So yeah, we want to do everything that we can to get these units into people's homes as quickly as possible. So we'd love to take some feedback.
Thank you, Ryan. I see a hand from Isabel. Go ahead.
Sí, buenas tardes. Tenía una pregunta.
Yes, good afternoon. I have a question. The air purifiers, are they all only for the St. Luke City members, or is it for anyone? Anyone who lives in Fresno can have access to them? That's my question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Isabel. This program is specific to only residents of the AB 617 South Central community. So you have to live within the boundaries to qualify for this. We try to make it extremely simple process. The only requirement is just a piece of a document, and there's a lot of different ways to satisfy that. to show that someone lives within the boundary, but that's it. But it is limited only to South Central Fresno AB 617 community members or residents.
Okay, gracias.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question. Are there any other questions? Actually, I see in the chat. Can the Air District share flyers for these events and programs at community centers, such as medical clinics within the boundary, like Clínica Sierra Vista and United Healthcare Centers? Yeah, great suggestions. Is that a possibility from the Air District team?
That's a great idea. Yes, we'll work to start getting him out there, if not this week, next week.
Thank you, Jamie. Any other thoughts on how we can get the community to really take advantage of this program? Seems like a really great deal and opportunity to get people's homes to have as clean air as possible. Seems like there's a lot of funds and opportunity left to kind of get more of these out into people's homes. Any suggestions or thoughts? Yeah, I see a couple hands. We can start with Kimberly.
This question is for Ryan. Has there been any talks with the Air District to extend that program within the community air protection program? Like, for example, the LSERPs that are being worked on. That's like a big topic across, like in Fairmead, Madera, Terabella. So has there been any talks to extend that to the community air protection program?
Yeah, well, that's why we started the we started off with the valley-wide program using local funds outside of AB 617 funds, because it's not an allowable expense under the community air protection incentive guidelines. And so understanding the need and the importance, really appreciative of the fact that we were able to find funding to be able to open that up, and we saw a lot of interest. And so we're trying to use the level of interest that we saw to support getting additional funds here in the Valley to be able to provide more of these residential air filters in those and other historically underserved, under-resourced communities.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. And Bill, I see your hand.
Have flyers been passed out at some of the local schools about the program, both in bilingual and English, to explain how easy it would be for the parents to get these devices?
We have done some of that, and we are continuing to do that. That actually came up at the last meeting, and we're now working with Dr. Curry to get some more West Fresno schools involved. But yes, we've been doing that through a variety of different ways, both in-person direct, handing them out and talking to residents, which actually is our most successful way that we've been able to get the information out. And then also doing like flyers, take-home flyers in school backpacks and virtual flyers through some of the systems that schools have. Great idea, though.
Yeah, great idea. And thank you for sharing those progress and updates, Jamie. Well, I see your hand is still up. Just want to see if you have any other questions or thoughts that you wanted to share. Oh, maybe not. Any other CSC members like to share?
Liz, just a quick question for everyone. One of the questions that we were talking about just today with my team was churches. if you all can just drop into the chat any churches that are in the AB 617 community that might, we might be able to drop some flyers off at, or even maybe, show up on a Sunday in their parking lot and pass some of these out. That would be great. We aren't as familiar with all the churches in that part of, well, I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar with the churches in any part of town, but if you all are aware of them, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. So it sounds like we're trying to see if maybe there are some connections to churches or other faith-based organizations within the AB 617 boundary that might be other great contenders to do this kind of outreach and get these air filters out. Any ideas from folks?
That would be something that for me, I would have to get back to you on, Jamie, to look at the boundary again to see what churches are within the boundary, because there are churches in West Fresno that will welcome you to be able to pass out flyers, or even welcome you to come up and talk about the program and be able to leave some flyers at their church. But I have to see which ones are within the boundary.
Great, thank you, Kimberly, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And definitely more opportunities beyond this meeting to provide this kind of feedback. Thank you for the reminder. And so if there's no other comments or questions from the CSC, I think we can pass it back to Ryan to keep moving us along.
Yeah, thanks for all the feedback, and definitely took notes of all those locations, and I think those are great ideas. Thanks. So the last thing I want to talk about is the heavy duty truck replacement program. And so we heard a lot of feedback while we had discussions in the last meeting and the subcommittee meeting. And so what we're doing is we're looking to take that feedback. We're looking to work with CARB on some concepts for truck replacement measures to increase participation in the program. One of the things we're looking to do is work with them. They have a program where they require all compliant fleets to register their trucks in a program. And the due date for that is at the end of this year. And so they're going to have what they should have a pretty comprehensive list of every single person that owns a truck within the boundary. And what we're looking to do is get that list and then reach out to them directly about the existing program and offer the incentives and see what the interest level is like. That was definitely something that we heard from the steering committees is how many of the companies have you actually spoken to, and what was the individual feedback. And so what we're looking to do is over the next couple months get all that information to be able to come back to you with that information, and if there's any recommended changes, let it be based on the information from those companies that are within the boundary. And so that was the major update on that one. And I'm very hopeful that through this process we're going to have a really good list of people, and including single owner operators, and get their feedback on the existing measure, and whether it will work for them, if it wouldn't work for them, what are the specific challenges, and look to tailor something, working with you if that's the desire of the committee. So that was all I had on that. If there was any questions anybody had.
Thank you for that update, Ryan. So we'll pause again to see if there's any questions or comments from the CSC. I know Ryan's update was more to come. So again, this conversation will continue, but again, want to just see if there's any comments or questions from the CSC at this time. I'm not seeing any. It's a quiet group tonight. Okay. Oh, I see a hand. Bill, go ahead.
I was just going to add to what Ryan said. At the last meeting in the chat, I didn't see it until the end, but someone brought up the point to where the way it was presented that would this make the participants be able to use their trucks longer? And actually, this program would encourage them to go to some sort of zero emission vehicle sooner, because the way the program's set up, the mandatory dates for conversion to this technology is ongoing over like 10 years or so. So I think the objective is to encourage anybody that has trucks to utilize the program and try to change over sooner while they still had the ability to keep their existing truck, because there's so much unknowns about this technology and how well it's going to work. So in contrast to, the question was if they were allowed to keep their old truck, would they still be using it more? But the incentive, they could keep their old truck now and not go to that technology sooner. But I think the objective was to get people that have trucks to convert sooner than they're required to, because they would have the ability to keep their existing truck as a backup. And these trucks under the new program are going to time out anyway, because under the new program, you're only going to be able to keep your old truck for a period of time, and then you have to get rid of it or put so many miles on it, like 800,000 miles, and you have to get rid of it. So it's not like in the past, they could just hold on to that old truck for indefinitely, where they're going to have to stop using it. So it's definitely an incentive to get people that own trucks to go sooner. And when this happens, it's going to advance technology faster, because this is all totally new technology, and there's a lot of unknowns about it. And I think that, you know, the incentive is a good one, but I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. It's always great to hear your perspective on these things, and yeah, getting that context about how the long-term impacts, considering those new changes, this measure could actually speed up the process for getting those emissions down and encouraging more use of those electric trucks. So thank you for sharing that. Just pause again to see if there's any other thoughts that the CSE would like to share before we move to our next agenda item. I'm not seeing any. So I am happy to transition us to our standing updates. So thank you again, everyone, for your input and contributions to this conversation. I'm happy to transition to our updates. And first on that list, we are going to hear from our truck reroute study committee. I'm not sure if it's the subcommittee or if we have a representative. I see the city of Fresno is here. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Jennifer Clark with the City of Fresno. I do have the truck reroute study update for you. So on the truck reroute study, IBI group with Catherine Padilla and Associates, who are consultants, continue their efforts on the community truck reroute study. As a part of public outreach, the consultants attended the Fiestas Patrias community event in September. These outreach efforts were to obtain community input on identifying feasible strategies that can possibly be applied in their neighborhoods. The event was a success. Members of the AB 617 community participated and interacted with the team to provide valuable input. And we believe the festive environment helped members get excited in participating. While the event attracted people throughout the city, the information gathered for the study was from those who live in and work in the AB 617 community. The community advisory group selected a second outreach event to be at Mary Ella Brown Community Center. It was agreed that this location is a staple of the community. They've worked with Mrs. Yolanda Randalls of West Fresno Family Resources Center to coordinate attendance to their Safe Night Out community event that will be held on October 31st. Last year, they had 3,000 attendees to the event, and she anticipates that this year there will be the same amount or more. The team will be in attendance to gather more input and interact with members of the community. The next technical steering committee and community advisory group meeting is anticipated for November as a joint meeting for collaboration between both groups and as an update to the input received. Also, the health assessment update, the University of California, Merced continues their efforts related to the health assessment of the AB 617 community in relations to the truck route study. UCM continues their data analyses on pregnancy outcomes and cardiovascular ER visits, hospitalizations, and is on track to have a draft report by December. And if you have any questions related to either the community truck reroute study or the health assessment, you can email, there is a specific address, AB 617 truck reroute study at fresno.gov, and I will drop that in the chat. And that's my report.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. A lot of information, and we will, I believe, be getting some of that dropped in the chat, those opportunities for follow-up. Just want to pause again to see if there's any questions or comments from the CSC about this update. Not seeing any. Okay. Doesn't seem like we have any questions for you, but thank you so much, Jennifer. And I see you noted the contact information in the chat. So we can move to our next update. And I believe we have the Air District on next. Does the Air District have an update that they would like to share with the group tonight? Maybe not. If not, we can move to CARB. I know we have our CARB reps here tonight, as we do every night or every CSE meeting. I'd love to invite CARB to provide any updates that they might have prepared to the CSE.
Yes, please. Thanks, Liz. Big update for us. The final draft of the Community Air Protection Blueprint 2.0 is now posted. The deadline for comments on the item is October 16th by midnight. And just as a reminder, the board hearing will be held on October 26th. And then I'll go ahead and place those links in the chat for everybody, as well as our general email for any questions that anybody might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, big update. CSC is invited, and the whole community is invited to provide feedback on the updated draft blueprint. And there's information about that in the chat as well. Are there any questions or comments from the CSC about how to submit those comments? Not seeing any. So I think we can move on. Just want to open it up and see if there are any other updates from any CSE members or other agencies who are on the call tonight. Anything that you all would like to share with the group.
I would just like to encourage all of our CSC members to attend the blueprint meeting on the 26th to hear about AB 617 and the Community Air Protection Program and provide feedback. And if you have time to review the draft, it's a lot of information in there. And I just would like to encourage Fresno CSC members, if you have the time, to really attend this meeting.
And thank you, Kimberly, for the reminder and encouragement to really get involved in this process. And if you can, to attend that meeting on October 26th. Any other announcements from the group tonight before we start wrapping up our meeting? Okay. I'm not seeing any. So I think at this point, we can start wrapping up. And let's see, getting my windows organized. Trying to find the slides to share our next meeting date. Okay. So before we start truly wrapping up the meeting, just want to share some important dates for us. Our next agenda setting meeting where we can spend time talking about what you all would like to review in our upcoming CSC meeting. That will be on October 18th at 4:30. And then our next CSC meeting will be on Wednesday, November 8th. And we hope to see everybody there. And so I'll stop sharing that. And at this time, we also will review the action items that were recorded. And so I'll share my screen once more. Okay. Can everyone see the action items?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the first for tonight, the CSE is invited to provide feedback on the annual report. And the deadline for that is November 3rd. And those materials have been emailed out to all CSE members. The next is the CSE and the Air District. I will have continued discussion on the Air District's organizational practices and strategies to meet environmental justice goals. A note here for these to happen outside of CSE meetings as they relate to more organizational aspects of the Air District outside of the AB 617 jurisdiction. And then for the third action item, the CSE is invited to suggest potential locations within the AB 617 South Fresno boundary, and also dates that would work to host community events for the passenger vehicle repair and replacement program measures. And the last action item we have here is the CSE is, and it's in the middle of getting translated. The CSE is invited to provide feedback on the Blueprint 2.0 by October 16th, and also to attend the board meeting on October 26th. And so those were the action items we have recorded, but as always, want to pause to see if there's anything that we missed or mischaracterized. Let us know and we would be happy to add anything or make any changes. Not seeing any. So I think we can wrap up that action item review and start wrapping up our meeting. And I'll pass it off to Amy to wrap us up.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you everyone for engaging in tonight's conversation. I know there was a lot of information that was provided to you all. I guess we all have a little bit of homework to review several documents and connect to or with the Air District regarding providing some of that feedback. So excited to hear what you all share in the weeks to come. At this time, I'd like to make space to open it up to the public. I do see we have some public members here tonight. Also, we are streaming live on YouTube, so checking to see if we have any comments from our folks that are listening and watching on our YouTube channel. So as a reminder, these public meetings are a space for the public to also provide their insights or any questions that they may have. In addition to that, if CSC members have any questions outside of what was presented on the agenda today that you would like to discuss, now would be the time. I'd like to confirm that I'm not seeing any comments on YouTube and also not seeing any comments in the chat and also not seeing any hands raised right now. Well, I do hope that you all are appreciating the weather changing and that you are embracing the fall weather. At this time, I'd like to say words that I've never thought I'd say. We are ending this Fresno meeting early and giving you back 20 minutes of your time to enjoy this evening. If anything should come up regarding today's meeting, would love for you to reach out to anyone from our team or from the Air District or to our co-host Kimberly. So at this time, I'd just like to pass it to Kimberly to wrap us up with any closing remarks, or Ryan, you're also welcome to add any other closing remarks.
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for attending today. And just to remind everyone to review the annual report and please provide feedbacks by November 3rd. And just know that the Air District is willing to hold meetings to go through the annual report with our CSC members. And also to encourage our CSC members to attend the Blueprint 2.0 meeting. It'll be nice to hear from our Fresno residents about the AB 617 process and our community air protection program, and just to hear their voices on how things are going in the Valley. But thank you all for allowing me to be your host tonight, and I will pass it over to Ryan.
I think you did a great job of summing up everything, Kim. And thank you, Kim, for co-hosting and once again doing an awesome job. And wish everybody a good night and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Gracias a todas por toda la información.
Thank you everyone for the
Good night.
information.
Good night. Thank you.
Have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Buenas noches.